there are a lot of pyramids in fundraising and development. And one thing that I remember was annual giving is foundational. It should only be used as the foundation upon which other methodologies, more productive methodologies are used. So you have annual giving as a foundation for capital giving, as a foundation for legacy giving. And let me show you how the money comes in. It is just the opposite. You're going to have a whole bunch of annual givers, fewer capital givers, even fewer still legacy givers. But how that equates to the amount of money potential coming into your organization, I mean, it's just hugely, hugely different. You know, you only need one good death, you know, and it can change the future of your organization.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So
not just in terms of money.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of how we look at it in regard to number of donors versus return, inversely proportional. Fewer, greater return. Okay. We got about 30% of the people in annual giving give about 70% of the money. You've got about 20% of the people giving 80% of the money. You know, so the pyramid is a little bit flatter, you know, here. Let me draw you another triangle. Let's look at methodologies. You typically want to use direct mail, which is least personal for your masses of people. And then for that mid-range of people, this is where, and your results may differ, but in theory, this is where you could use a more personalized phone type of medium. And up here is face-to-face. And here again, you're going to have inversely proportional monetary returns. Okay? So that's the kind of state of play. All right? Any kind of questions about the relation, the holistic system here? Okay. Another thing I wanted to, let me throw out a kind of a stereotypical annual giving calendar. Okay? Okay. Let's just say, for ease of purposes, let's look at a fiscal year of July 1, June 30th. How many of you are working off this? Okay, about half of you. Okay. Actually, this is kind of made to order for development. Because July 1, or first month of July, this would be my strategy. You'd have a board campaign. You'd have an administration or faculty or staff campaign. You raise money from the inside out, and those people who are most directly organically connected via volunteers or professional staffers, that's who you go to first, okay? And let's say September, you have direct mail 1. And it can be both for acquisition, and it can be for renewal, and it can be for upgrade. Although for upgrade, if you have this within your marketing mix, you may want to consider phone. Because again, you can negotiate, refer to the giving chart, all of that. And what is the message? The message could be that tuition does not pay the full cost of education. Patient billings do not pay the full cost of education. Government subsidies patient billings don't pay the full cost of health care. Government subsidies do not pay the full share of human service. But we need philanthropy to cover the operations and to move our organization from good to great. But for your support, we will not be able to strengthen our organization. Just kind of talk about the role of philanthropy in annual giving. And then in direct mail 1, besides maybe talking about that overarching theme, and it may be that you want to announce your goal, your philanthropic goal for the year. That's a good place to do it. Last year, we tallied our numbers and we raised X amount, and this year our goal is to raise X plus amount. I'm big on goals. And then in direct mail 1, I'd have the announcing the goal, the overarching philanthropic theme, and then what I used to do is to kind of insert your stories here, and I would put it tabbed in and in italics, just to kind of have the mental shift of gear to tell the powerful story of how lives are educated, how lives are healed, how people are made whole. And then what I do on direct mail is a little trick. I do not underline anything emotional, but everything that relates to the ask I underline, so that if they only read the underline, which often happens, if you only read the underline or if you only read the PS, you're going to get the ask and the purpose of the letter, because that's what the deal, that's the purpose of the letter. So, so you have direct mail 1, and then I always kind of like the 1-2 punch. Direct mail 2, maybe in October, where we mailed you, and if you've already given, we thank you. But if you haven't, this is just to reiterate the importance of our campaign. Let me tell you what one time we did on direct mail. We just copied on direct mail 2. We just copied direct mail 1, and we stuck a Post-it note on it just to say, if you've already given, we are so thankful. You may recall we sent you this letter. We would hope you would give it special consideration. Just something like that. It was easy. Direct mail 1, direct mail 2. And again, this goes to acquisition, retention, and upgrade. Now, in November, we're looking at year-end, calendar year-end. Fun little fact to know and tell. 1/3 of all philanthropic giving comes in the last quarter of the year. So you can see that giving is skewed toward the calendar year-end, and a lot of that has to do with just reasons to kind of get the taxes, get all your charitable deductions in for tax reasons and things like that. So a lot of times around mid-November, we would give a calendar year-end appeal or a Thanksgiving appeal if you're more secular, or a holiday appeal, a Christmas appeal, if you're, you know, religious specific. You can get away with that. So these are the kind of things, and you know, a year end is a horrible thing to waste. Okay, you know, so we're pushing hard on a calendar year end gift. Okay. Okay. We're pushing hard, and what we can do, and I'll talk more about this tomorrow, but a lot of times we will piggyback plan giving onto our year-end annual fund appeal, where we put in a brochure that talks about tax-wise ways of giving, you know? Okay, so we piggyback plan giving into our annual giving budget, okay? Okay, and then we got December. And then the kind of the first quarter, there was kind of a dearth time for direct mail. I mean, direct mail does not pull as well here as it did here. So we tried to skew some special events towards spring, you know, give people a chance to reload in January, February, pay off Christmas, and maybe in March when the flowers are blooming in the Southland. Can't do that quite yet for you, but anyway, we would have some special events here. And then you can have a May, you know, in Memorial Day in May, you can have a mailing or an appeal to give in memory of someone, you know, or to honor someone along those lines. But that's a thematic appeal. And then in June 1, you have your second year-end appeal. But this is your fiscal year-end appeal, where you can remail or recommunicate with people is last year. We've been very grateful for your historical support. As yet, I saw one image on the January 1 appeal with Sherlock Holmes and his little thing. He was looking for something, and so it was kind of like, we're looking for your gift. It was really kind of clever. But, you know, in years past, you've given. It's people like you who make us where we are. As yet, you have not given. Our fiscal year end ends on the 30th, so we'd like to include you into our list of donors. Here's the other thing, is that in June 1, to the donors. In September, you may recall that we announced our goal for the year to raise $100,000. As yet, on June 1, we've only raised $90,000. We are going to you, who's already been generous to us. We're going to the people who know us best, love us most, and we're asking you to help us go over goal. So, yes, that second ask is very important. In fact, hopefully, through special events and year-end appeals and direct mail 1, and that, you know, we're going to ask people to give multiple times, and hopefully they'll give in multiple ways. But that's just kind of an unfolding that to me breathes naturally, and I think it can be met with great success.
I learned this at a seminar that Harvard gave. Is it still true that we should still use blue ink to sign our letters? And is it still true, maybe even if we know that person, to write a personal note at the end?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And sign it.
That's the real, you know, blue ink, so that people know that it's, you know, less likely to be computer generated. Although computers generate, you know, you can have blue these days. It takes more to fool people, you know. But it's also good to be able to write a little personal note. That goes a long way. Now, you may not be able to do it with the masses, you know, but you can do it with maybe you know, a rated segment of that mailing or whatever. So Yes.
When we have stuff like that, bigger things, obviously we're a pretty nice sized staff, but we will go, each one of us will go through and oh, I know these 20 people. And so if everybody does that, to a few that you really do know, but I think that little handwritten thing at the bottom right
goes a long way.
does as much or more than the whole rest of the letter.
Trying to deinstitutionalize as much as you can and personalize as much as you can. So,
Also, whoever the letter's coming from, if they know you as Bob versus William or versus Mr. So-and-so or Dr. So, whoever that letter's coming from, make sure you know what they're addressing or, you know, how it would be, dear so-and-so, there's salutation, how it would be. So that way they'll know there's a little bit extra thought into it. You call him Bubba, but Bubba.
What I've done is just scratched out the Mr. So-and-so, wrote
Yeah.
his name, and
Yeah.
signed it just Patrick rather than Patrick
Yeah.
Landry, and
Yeah.
write a little
Yeah.
note.
Oh, yeah. It goes a
Yeah,
long
whatever
way.
makes it personal.
Yeah. When I was on the Board of Governors at Emory, we had this this fear is that people don't think Emory needs the money. Emory, you know, of course, Emory suffers, you know, from having an $8 billion endowment, you know. So, and we say a little prayer for Coca-Cola every night, you know, of course.
I bet you do.
Yeah, but anyway, when I was on the Board of Governors, I mentioned to them, I said, you know what I've noticed is that Lindsay and I only get one solicitation. You know, you give us a letter, we send, and they said, yeah, you know, we don't want to over-solicit. And I said, listen, that just reinforces, you know, this idea is that, you know, Emory doesn't need the money, you know. What I'm fine with you doing is, you know, write a letter, we give, and if you down the way send me a calendar year-end appeal or a memorial appeal or a fiscal year-end appeal, give me another chance, you know, because it may be, you know, we're having a good year and we can do something. I'll give them another $10. So.
And get a calendar.
Yeah, that's right. So, but anyway, please don't be a weenie. You know, don't just solicit one time and get a gift and let people off the hook. Just keep going after them, and they'll let you know if you're over mailing them, and you can do it too much. But I don't think that these, you know, this kind of an outline is too aggressive. I really don't. So.
But make sure you're contacting them in between the
Oh,
ask.
please do.
Yeah, don't let it always be an ask. Sometimes let it be a, update or an invitation or a thank you or a, you know, something.
One of the questions we ask in the feasibility study for a capital campaign is, are you kept aware of what's going on at this organization? And, you know, I hate to hear things like, you know, we really only hear from them when they want money. And, you know, what we need to do is use these 4 times a year newsletters, you know. The first one being maybe a donor list of who gave in last fiscal year and announcing that we made our goal or something like that, something to raise a balloon on, announce the new goal for the year. And then, you know, have stories, both from your clients and your constituents and your donors, things like that. Boast your successes, you know, and then have that year-end newsletter, you know, that you know, just kind of get you ready to have that last push to help you go over goal. Or it may be, suppose you're at goal. What do? Well, you announce a stretch goal, you know. Why not? You know. And with this, but for your money, we won't be able to do this additional thing. And so I think that's, you know, we need to be bodacious, be out there. Be out there. Is there anything else about, any other thing, whoa, okay, all right, okay.
Go vote.
Okay. we've addressed this.
What does it say?
Budget relieving money and incremental money. You know, you were talking about oversubscribing in maybe an area of athletics. A lot of donors are not sophisticated enough to understand this nuance, okay? And it may be that if you are worried about oversubscribing, you just ask for money, but they give you money in a way that is budget relieving, where there's so much money given by the school or the organization, so much money to be raised by philanthropy, and that's the kind of total you need for the year. And sometimes if you oversubscribe in philanthropy, you can reduce the money that's coming from the school and put that in an organization and put that in another area. Now, so it's a little bit of sleight of hand. And again, the sophisticated donor is going to do what? I'm going to give you a big gift. And let me tell you, this money is restricted for incremental use only. This is not to be used as a budget relieving gift. That's the sophisticated donor. And what do? Well, if you're worried about losing control, you give the money back. But let me tell you what I'd do. I'd click my heels, say thank you very much, and I'd take that money, just because, it's no money, no mission. So it's nice to be able to have the kind of mental framework so that you have some latitude. And again, if somebody restricts it and hardwires it, you either use it that way or you give it back. But sometimes, people can give in a way that is not a hardwire restriction, and you have a little bit of play. Okay? Any questions?
That's another good reason to look at your budget in a 90-day period, because of different gifts. People might give only 4 times a year, and then you look at that number in that 1 month and you think, well, boy, look how much we've achieved over our anticipated revenue. But really that revenue needs to be spread out for a 90-day period.
Exactly. Just because you're going to have spikes,
Yeah.
particularly at calendar year end. And you may think calendar year end for your fiscal year July 1, I mean, that's only half a year. And you've spiked, and then you think, hey, we're on easy street. And you may not be, because again, spring has always been a dearth of response. I don't know what it is, but I've just always found a diminution. And also, summer months is a hard time, but that's why you go to your board and your staff and your close-in folks. You don't need to make a hard sell. And it's just for cash flow reasons, you can have some cash in the summer months.